Listed weights versus actual weights. There's a lot of misunderstanding about which fork is best for your bike in the new 2027 fork lineup from Fox and RockShox. So let's get right into it. We keep seeing articles and comments talking about how heavy the new Lyric is versus how light a 36 is, and we want to set the record straight that the Lyric is actually one of the lightest forks for 2027. So we are just talking about the 150, 160 travel range and bigger here. That's my focus. So the Lyric on this wall is my lightest fork. This fork weighs 2,250 grams. That's pretty accurate to their listed weight. They got some flack and some heat, unfairly I might say, in a lot of comments for how heavy their fork is, because people were comparing it to the listed weight of a 36. In certain configurations, this fork can be a sub 2,000 gram fork, but in the configuration that we're gonna ride it in, nobody's riding the new 36 in sub 2,000 gram configurations. With a Grip X2 160 millimeter travel, this fork weighs 2,350 grams. That is 100 grams heavier than this 170 millimeter travel Lyric. So we like the application of this bike. There's a lot of lightweight trail and enduro bikes like the Transition Sentinel that we ride that can be ran with a 170 fork. That Lyric's the perfect pairing. I don't wanna bolt a heavy Zeb or a heavy 38 on the front of that bike. I can run a 170 mil travel, build myself a lightweight enduro smasher out of that Lyric. I think this is one of the most underrated forks on the market right now. Moving on to some of the other bigger heavy hitting forks, the new 2027 38 is 2,460 grams. That's just over 100 grams heavier than this 36 on the wall. So really reasonable weight for that bigger, burlier chassis that we're gonna be bolting onto the front of e-bikes and heavier enduro rigs. The new Zeb gained some serious weight. That is 2,580 grams in that 170 millimeter travel Zeb. So we're getting up there in weight to where now this starts comparing to the weights of our inverted forks. These got a lot of flack last year when they released because of how heavy they are. So the Zeb is 2,580. We are 2,800 grams for this podium. So it's still a pretty heavy fork, but we're not that far off. It's not the full pound difference that we saw before. We're talking 200 grams, half a pound is the difference between our 38 mil chassis and this podium now. The Push 9.1 is now the heaviest fork in the V2 with their upgraded bottom out system. It is 2,960 grams. So there are some heavy forks, but the real killer, underrated fork on the market right now is that RockShox Lyric. Comment below which fork you would run on your bike, what you're currently riding, and we can also recommend which fork we'd put on that bike.